Kalevesh here, the original heal tank, and welcome to my channel. This page follows my self-healing tank build on Ascension, a private World of Warcraft server that lets you mix and match everything from the original classes, including thousands of all-new custom-made abilities, talents, enchantments, and items. If you want to learn more about this build, make sure to check out the other videos on my channel, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hey guys, Kalevesh here, and I'm back with another build update. The first video that I did got a lot of views and a lot of feedback. One of the critiques I received was that my last build video wasn't entirely new user friendly. Every day there's still dozens of players that are migrating over to Ascension from either retail WoW or other private servers. So in today's video, in an effort to prevent any new players from feeling overwhelmed or left scratching their heads, I'm going to be covering all of the basics of the build and the foundational things you need to know to make the build work. I want to start off this build guide at its most basic point by answering the question I get most often: what is the build? I think the best way to describe the build to somebody who is new to Ascension would be to imagine that you're playing as a paladin in the middle of the TBC expansion. But now pretend that you have unlimited talent points and access to all three specializations. And with this unlimited access, your affinity to holy magic becomes magnified. You become the ultimate crusader. In comparison to other builds, you certainly won't have the highest damage mitigation between the tanks, you won't be able to out-heal the other dedicated healers in the group, and you definitely won't be the #1 DPS on the meters. But when you combine all three, you become a force of nearly immeasurable survivability. With all that said, let's take a deep dive and talk about how it works. On the left-hand side of the page here, we are going to have all of our abilities. Right at the top left, we are going to have Divine Protection as our main defensive cooldown as a Paladin, Lay on Hands as our emergency heal, Shadow Protection depending on what type of enemies we are fighting. Purify is there to remove any sort of debuffs, Power Word Fortitude for added stamina, Arcane Intellect for additional spell power, Blink is for mobility, Abolish Curse takes care of the debuffs that Purify does not, Evasion for increased dodge chance, Righteous Fury of course for tanking, Consecration, Victory Rush is there only for the 10% heal, Crusader Strike and Divine Storm of course as a Paladin are going to be main points of our rotation. Eldritch Weapon is going to be a custom made ability that is exclusive to Ascension. This is a temporary weapon enhancement. Then we have Emanating Light down here. This is going to be a similar version of Consecration, with the only differences being that it deals slightly less damage than Consecration, but it moves with you as you run. Then we have Exorcist Slash. This ability has 3 proc effects that it can deal, but the most important is going to be that it reduces the cooldown of Divine Storm by 5 seconds. With Divine Storm being our main source of healing, we of course want to use Divine Storm as often as possible. Then we have Light of the Guardian. This is going to be an instant cast version of Holy Light, with the exception being that it's only usable after you block, dodge, or parry, and is on a 6-second cooldown. It also deals damage to all enemies within 8 yards based off of how much it heals for. Then on the next row below we have Demonic Leap. This isn't going to be essential to the heal tank build in any way, but when you are trying to solo content, it is going to be very convenient to have that added mobility. Same thing with Charge. We are not using Rage with this build, but Charge allows us to move around the battlefield a little bit quicker. Devotion Aura, of course, giving more armor. Mage Armor reduces our magic damage taken by 2%. Aspect of the Monkey, giving us a higher chance to dodge. Fire Resistance Aura for things like Blackwing Lair or Molten Core. Judgment of Light, it gives us a chance to heal for 2% of our base health. Then we have Battle Shout, giving us additional strength and agility. Blessing of Kings, just more stats. Blessing of Sanctuary, primarily used for the mana regeneration. Seal of Command is going to be our #1 damaging ability. And then our last ability slot is currently being taken up by Claw, but I am looking to replace this. Now that we've looked through all of the abilities, let's dive into the talents to see the inner workings of the build and how it's possible for me to solo content that would otherwise take 5 to 15 players. First off is going to be Tactical Mastery, increasing our armor while we have a single two-handed weapon equipped. Adaptive Defense, increasing our chance to dodge by another 5%. And the capstone is really what's important for this one, decreasing all damage taken by 5% for 10 seconds after you dodge. Of course, in combination with Aspect of the Monkey and other things that increase our dodge chance, the goal is of course to have a 100% uptime on the capstone. Then we have Commanding Presence, which gives us an additional 24 strength. Then we have max rank of Cruelty, giving us 5% additional strength, and also has the added effect of 5% increased critical strike chance. The next row down, we have Improved Victory Rush. This allows us to heal more often with Victory Rush, and this procs off of parries. Because I don't have a shield, my sources of mitigation are going to be split between parry and dodge. Then we have Powerful Divine Storm, one of the many talents that is exclusive to the Ascension server. This is going to cause Divine Storm to deal 20% more damage, which in turn heals 20% more, and of course is going to be vital to having a heal tank build such as this. Then we have another Ascension exclusive, Iron Will, giving us 25% of our total strength as additional parry rating. Then we have Ferocity. It has a lot of effects that we aren't going to benefit from, but the important thing is that it gives 5% to all stats. Below that, we have Ward of Light. The important benefit here is that taking spell damage has a chance to reset the cooldown on Divine Storm, allowing us to then use Divine Storm more often and thus healing ourselves more over time. To the right, we have Improved Aspect of the Monkey, increasing the amount of dodge chance it gives by 3%, bringing the total to 5. Next up is Vengeance. This is going to give us 3% additional holy damage on Crusader Strike and Divine Storm for 15 seconds, stacking up to 5, giving us a total of 15% increased damage, which means Divine Storm heals 15% more. Then we have Light's Vengeance, which is going to increase our chance to parry. With max rank, this is going to be 3% and also has a Holy Thorns effect, causing us to deal holy damage to our attackers whenever we'd parry. Next up, we have the Paladin talent, Two-Handed Weapon Specialization, increasing our critical strike chance with Seal of Command by 15%. Then we have Improved Devotion Aura, giving us an additional 50% armor from the aura, and also reduces all physical damage taken by 3%. Tenacity, of course, increasing the amount of armor we receive from all items and also increases our threat generation. And again, has another effect that scales with strength, increasing our armor by a 1-to-1 ratio with our total strength. And once again, in the Paladin tree, we have the max rank of Reckoning, giving a increased 5% parry chance and also causes us to sometimes deal extra auto attacks. Blessed Weapons, increasing all damage dealt by 3% and also gives us a buff to threat generation. Now that 3% damage dealt also increases the amount of damage dealt by Divine Storm, which in turn increases the healing. Then we have Divinity, which is going to be one of the most important talents for the entire build. This is going to increase all healing received by 12%, reduce damage taken by 6%, and it also gives additional healing power, which scales with stamina. Then, to the right of that, we have Seals of the Pure, increasing the amount of damage dealt by Seal of Command. Improved Righteous Fury gives us additional armor, and it also reduces all damage taken by 3%. Now we have Deflection. Unfortunately, I don't have max rank, but with rank 2, I have 2% increased chance to parry and another 2% stamina. With the Capstone, if you have rank 3, this does reduce the amount of magic damage you take by 33% of your parry chance, meaning that with procs up, when I have 50% chance to parry, this reduces all magic damage I take by 16.5%. Vindication, it has a similar function to Demoralizing Shout in the Warrior tree, reducing the attack power of targets affected, and has the Capstone effect where if you then attack a target that is currently afflicted by Vindication, it increases your own attack power. To the right of that, we have Magic Absorption, which increases all magic damage done by 3%, thus causing Divine Storm to heal for 3% more, and reduces all magic damage taken by 3%. Next up is Resolve, giving us 3% additional strength, stamina, and chance to hit. And another vital talent to the build is going to be Mental Quickness, increasing the amount of spell damage we gain from spell power by 75%, and causes our melee attacks to increase the amount of magic damage we deal by 10% for 6 seconds. Next is something that we steal from the Rogue tree. This is going to be Deadened Nerves, reducing all damage taken by another 3%. And then from the Mage tree, we picked up Prismatic Cloak, giving us another 2% reduced damage taken. Then there is Purifying Power, which reduces the mana cost of Cleanse, Holy Wrath, Consecration, and Emanating Light by 30%, and also increases the damage dealt by Consecration and its related abilities by 20%. There is Sacred Duty, giving us 3% additional stamina, and also reduces the cooldown of Divine Protection from 3 minutes to 2 minutes. Crusade increases all holy and physical damage done by 2%, and also gives us 2% additional critical strike chance with holy spells and abilities. Sanctity of Battle is going to be another very important talent for this build. The base effect of the talent increases the damage output of Divine Storm by 15%, thus increasing the healing by 15%. Then there is Shadow Power, which increases the critical strike damage bonus of our spells from 170 to 200% damage, and has the Capstone effect, which causes our holy periodic damage effects, that would be Consecration and Emanating Light, to cause targets affected to take 8% additional magic damage from us for 4 seconds. On to the next row, we do have Strength of Arms, which is going to increase our total strength by 4% and also giving us 2% more stamina. Aspect Mastery is going to be something else that we pick up from the Hunter tree. This is going to further empower our Aspect of the Monkey to not only increase our chance to dodge by 5%, but now it also reduces all damage we take by 4%. Then we have the Art of War, increasing the amount of damage we deal with Judgment, Crusader Strike, Execution, Sentence, and Divine Storm by 9%. And of course, that causes Divine Storm to heal for 9% more. Then we pick up Divine Strength for an additional 6% strength and 3% stamina. Judgments of the Pure increases the amount of damage our Seal of Command deals. Power of Light is going to be another healing talent that benefits from us stacking strength. It gives us an amount of bonus healing that is equivalent to 20% of our total melee attack power. Then there is Improved Consecration, again reducing all damage we take by another 3%, and causes both Consecration and Emanating Light to now deal instant damage in addition to the periodic damage, which causes high amounts of threat. Next up, we have another Ascension exclusive, Consecrated Strikes. This causes our Crusader Strike, Divine Storm, and Hammer of the Righteous to create another Consecration effect on the ground. This deals similar amounts of damage to Consecration and Emanating Light, but also has the bonus effect of increasing the strength of all allies within the Consecration effect by 5%. Then the next talent, which works in sync with Consecrated Strikes, is going to be Consecrated Weapon. This talent doubles the amount of strength both you and your allies gain from Consecrated Ground, bringing it to a total of 10% bonus strength, and also causes your melee swings to deal an additional attack, which strikes for 125% weapon damage. These added attacks also trigger your Seal of Command. Next up is our first of 3 available passive healing talent procs in Ascension. This one is called Draining Strikes. It heals for quite a bit, but it does have a 3-second internal cooldown. When I have all talent and enchantment procs up, I can get this to crit for nearly 800 healing. Then we have another custom talent that is set up specifically for tanks like myself that are not using a shield, but instead relying on a 2-handed weapon and parry chance. It is called Critical Blademaster. This gives you a buff for 10 seconds after parrying an attack. That increases your critical strike rating by 15% of your total strength. Then right next to that, we have another one of the Blademaster talents. Divine Blademaster makes it so that while Blademaster is active and we use Divine Storm, it will increase both our armor and holy spell power by 200% of our strength for 5 seconds. It is important to note that 200% additional holy spell power will then be magnified by 1.75 because of the mental quickness talent. And this is what makes it possible for me to hit nearly 5,000 holy spell power at level 60. Down to the next row, we have One with the Light. One with the Light does give us a slight handicap here in the sense that it does decrease all physical damage we deal by 50%. But if you look at what we are using for abilities, we are almost dealing exclusively holy damage. The benefit here is that it causes Crusader Strike and Divine Storm to deal holy damage, which then scales with all of that extra holy spell power that we gain from our other talents. Next up is going to be the second of the 3 available passive healing talent procs, and that is Unbounded Death Healer. It does heal quite a bit less than Draining Strikes, but the benefit is that the internal cooldown is not based on the caster, but instead on each independent target that you hit. If you are doing bigger pulls and you cast something like Consecration or Emanating Light, that periodic damage can trigger Unbounded Death Healer, and you'll be watching the heals proc left and right. On bigger pulls, this definitely will be your #1 source of healing. Next up, we are going to have another Consecration effect, Purification by Light. The first one being Consecration, second is Emanating Light, third is Consecrated Ground, and now the fourth being Purification by Light, which also deals an instant cast Exorcism on the target and then generates this AoE effect on the ground. Then there is Malice, which gives us another 5% increased critical strike chance, which is going to be important for Divine Storm to heal more. And then down to the last row here, I do have Improved Mark of the Wild, which does increase all stats by another 2%. And once I do pick up Mark of the Wild as a spell, the benefit that it gives us to stats and resistances is increased by 40%. Then we have max rank of Holy Power, increasing the damage of all holy spells and abilities by 6%. The last talent that I have here is Dual Wield Mastery. It has absolutely no benefit to this build, so instead I'm going to show you some of the things that are on my wish list. Let's go up into the top right here. Alright, we are going to pull up Fiery Fervor. Now what this does is it triggers from holy and fire damage, and it reduces all damage we take by 8% for 10 seconds. Because everything on my bars is dealing holy damage, this essentially has a 100% uptime. I do have this on another spec, but haven't gotten to roll it on this specific build quite yet. In addition to Fiery Fervor, the only other thing that I'd be looking to pick up, which will most likely be a replacement for Blessed Weapons, would be Righteous Zealot. Now, we talked about Draining Strikes and Unbounded Death Healer before. Righteous Zealot is the third of the 3 available passive healing talent procs. It does have a similar function to Draining Strikes. The only difference being is that not only does it heal the caster, if you are in a group, it will also heal nearby allies. Now that we've gotten through all of the talents, the next thing that I want to touch on, which again is going to be custom content exclusive to Project Ascension, is going to be Mystic Enchantments. Now, to explain Mystic Enchantments in a short summary would be that these are very similar to item enchantments, except that these are bound to the player and not to any gear that you're wearing. To start off in the middle, I am using Deflection, increasing my chance to parry by 1%. I have 3 stacks of Vanquishing Storm. If you don't know already, most of these do have a maximum stacking of 3, with some exceptions being 1. Vanquishing Storm increases the critical strike chance of Divine Storm by a total of 15% with 3 stacks, and its healing by 45%. Then to the left and right, I have Balance of Power and Precision, bringing my chance to hit up by a total of 4%. At the bottom here, I have Renewed Energy, causing me to restore 20% base mana whenever I kill a target once every 10 seconds. Going around the outer circle from left to right, we have Faithful Cardio, reducing the cost of physical and holy abilities by 4%. In addition to that, I also have 2 stacks of Benediction, reducing the mana cost of all instant cast paladin spells by another 8%. Holy Power, increasing my critical effect chance with all holy spells by 2%. And then 3 stacks of Critical Divine Storm, increasing its critical strike chance by a total of 6%. And then finally, on the right side over here, we have 3 stacks of Seals of the Pure, increasing my Seal of Command damage by a total of 15%. Now, to talk about the items that I'm using on this build, it is important to note that something that was added by the Ascension developers for quality of life is that tanks, in addition to no longer needing a shield, also you don't need defense rating. Now, when I say you don't need defense rating, I'm not saying that you won't want it at some point, but it's no longer a requirement. Now, if we look over at the far right-hand side of my screen, you'll see below Righteous Fury, it is classified as a tank stance. all tank stances or forms. So for those of you that are used to retail WoW, that would be things like defensive stance, righteous fury, or bear form. These automatically reduce the chance you'll be crit by 6%. At level 60, 6% makes you completely crit immune, meaning that the only benefit that defense rating has then in Ascension is going to be that it increases your chance to block, dodge, parry, and also reduces the chance that enemies will hit you. But it is no longer a requirement for tanking. That being said, because my build scales primarily off of strength and I also need a large amount of spell power, instead of running a full set of tank gear, I'm actually using mostly Ret Pally's set items and off pieces. Now, if we go down the line one by one, you'll see that in the first slot, the helm slot, I am using a Lawbringer helm, and this is on Ascended difficulty. If you are new to Ascension, to give you a quick explanation of what Ascended means, on raid difficulties, there is normal, then heroic, mythic, and finally ascended. So this is the tier 1 Retribution Paladin helm. This is enchanted with plus 18 spell power and 10 stamina. That is a item enhancement that does come from Zul'Gurub. Below that, I have a dungeon item, Tooth of Nar, strength, stamina, and spell power. Another paladin dungeon item in the shoulders, that is the Lightforge set, and this is enchanted with the plus 18 spell power, which comes from turning in the Bijous in Zul'Gurub. Below that, I have a Wildfire cape from Upper Blackrock Spire, and this is enchanted with plus 5 resist all. Then we have another dungeon item, Lightforge breastplate, enchanted with plus 8 to all stats, followed up by another tier 1 ascended item. This is going to be enchanted with 7 strength. In the weapon slot, I am currently using a Thunderstrike. This is what I use typically when I am doing solo runs. However, if I am doing group content, I will switch to this Stone of the Earth, which is a bit more tank oriented. In the ranged slot, I'm using Libram of Truth, stamina, defense rating, and a little bit additional armor from Devotion Aura, and this is enchanted with 16 spell power. For the gloves, I'm wearing a third piece of tier 1 Ascended Lawbringer, and this is enchanted with 7 strength. You'll notice that because this is my third piece, I am receiving the set bonus of plus 3% to total strength. For the belt, I am wearing a tier 2 Ascended off piece. This is the Onslaught girdle. This is enchanted with plus 16 strength. For the legs, I have a dungeon off piece. This is the highest amount of total strength, stamina, and spell power between all of the leg items in the dungeon loot tables, and this is again enchanted with the same modification as the helm, plus 18 spell power and 10 stamina coming from Zul'Gurub. For the boots, I have my last piece of the Lightforge set, enchanted with plus 7 stamina. For both rings, Gordok Nose Ring, again, strength, stamina, spell power, and a little bit of crit. For the trinkets, I'm using Mark of the Chosen, although it is a low level item. Because I'm a tank which gets hit often, I am benefiting quite a bit by the chance on hit. So it does have a 2% chance when I'm struck in combat of increasing all stats by 25. The 25 strength that I'd be receiving from this is then multiplied with all of the strength modification talents that I have. In the final slot, I have the Briarwood Reed, again from Dungeons, just a large amount of spell power. Now what I want to do is give a quick shout out to my buddy Vic for setting up this weak aura that you'll see to the right of my character. This is a custom-made weak aura that tracks everything that I want to see in combat without having to open up my character page. Each one of these lines does update multiple times per second, and allows me to keep track of my strength, my holy spell power, my armor as a percentage, along with my avoidance given by miss, dodge, and parry, and of course calculates my total avoidance at the bottom there. If any of you are interested in getting something like this, I can definitely give you my current weak aura setup for this, or if you want to get it directly from Vic, I can also give you his contact info as well. As far as the buffs that you want to get from items, let's look at the far right hand page again. For food, we are going to be using a high risk item from Ascension. This is the Imbued Charred Steak, giving us 30 additional strength for 1 hour. Then we also have a Scroll of Strength, rank 4, increasing strength by 10 for 30 minutes. And then finally at the bottom, we have an elixir of brute force, increasing both strength and stamina by 18 for 1 hour. Alright, I think that's going to be it for this video. You know quite a bit about the build and how it works now. So what I'm going to do is I will post up a couple videos on the left hand side here so that you can see this build in action with me doing a couple solo runs. And then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you want to see in the next video down below. Thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next one.